Welcome to the Earth Your Wow podcast, brought to you by Reuserbox, providing a better way to buy cardboard boxes. We're your hosts, Jack and Ellie.
This is the podcast where we talk to industry experts and change makers to try to answer the question, how do we make our businesses better for people and the planet?
Today we're joined by Hannah Cox, founder of the Better Business Network and Better Not Stop. Hannah's work is all about helping businesses to become a force for good, creating positive impact, building purposeful communities, and advocating for systemic change. We'll dive into her journey, how she found her purpose, and practical advice for business owners looking to make a difference. Hannah, welcome to Earth Your Wow.
Thank you for having me.
We did quite a lot of research into you, and one thing I was kind of thinking when we were researching was I recently grew up and became an adult, and in like a fairly average town in the UK. And one thing I was thinking is it kind of felt like around me, people that I knew or grew up with, or people around me, I feel like most people never really found like purpose or maybe happiness in their life. And to be honest, I think most people that are still in that situation. I'm not saying that they're really unhappy, like some of them have really great jobs, but I feel like a lot of them, they're just kind of treading water a bit. And one thing that struck me about your story was it sounds like you might have found purpose and happiness in your life. So have you, and how did you do that?
Oh, big question. Let's just start on an easy one, shall we? I am happy, and I think I have found my purpose. So yes, but I think that it didn't just like land in my lap, if that makes sense. I spent my 20s working in a job I really enjoyed. I worked in the music industry, but I spent a lot of time traveling. So I would work on projects and then go traveling, and I actually felt my life didn't really have any clear direction or purpose. I was enjoying it, so I was the happy bit was fine, but I didn't really know what I was put on this earth to do, I guess. And I got interested in it because I read, it was an article in The Guardian back in like 2015 about how the youth of Britain are disillusioned and feel that they have no purpose, all of those things you were just saying. And I thought, well, we are in a pretty developed country with lots of great stuff. And I've travelled quite a lot now, and I know like how lucky we are to be born in the UK. So how are we still not feeling this sense of contentment and happiness? And have you heard of the World Happiness Report, either of you? Or
yes, briefly.
Yeah,
briefly. Yeah. So it's basically like a report that comes out and looking at lots of different data points to work out what makes people happy and where the happiest places are to live. And there's also a really good documentary I watched around that time called Happy, which is about what makes people, like just trying to discover what makes people happy. So I kind of, all these things started to kind of serendipitously kind of come into my life, this documentary, this report, this article in The Guardian. And I ended up deciding, I found out that Copenhagen was the happiest place to live at the time. So I was like, maybe I'll go there and find out my purpose. I don't know. And then I spoke to a friend and he said, well, have you heard of a place called Bhutan? It measures everything by gross national happiness rather than gross domestic product. And so for some reason, and I'm not saying my brain works in a normal way at all, I thought, well, if I travel from Copenhagen to Bhutan overland and talk to people along the way, then maybe I'll find out what makes people happy. So I did a big expedition back in 2017. And it was after that I decided my work was in social impact. So it was almost like a big research project. So it wasn't like I just woke up one day and was like, this is my purpose. It was like lots of research. I went on a massive expedition and then I came back and started what I'm doing.
Wow. I feel like you can make a movie about that. It's like a plot for a movie, right?
It's a bit like Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love, isn't it? But more purpose.
Yeah. I mean, there was lots of food as well on that trip, but yeah, it was just meeting people and just trying to kind of figure out what that was and if I could find that. And and that trip did do that, so it was great.
What did you learn, or what were some of the takeaways that you learned?
What's the secret?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess it's open to interpretation, but my experience was what was most important for people, or the people that I found that were the happiest, were people that had a job they really cared about and felt was making a positive difference. So making the world a better place, and people who had really good relationships, and that wasn't just like a partner or their family, but just people who had very good friendships and people that they very much cared about around them. So then for me, coming back, it was like making sure that I focused on creating really good relationships with having good people around me, and also doing work that I thought was going to make the world a better place, which is, I know, a very big overarching kind of mission, but that really is the mission of both of the businesses that I run. And we always are asking ourselves that, is what we're doing in this job or in this task for the business going to help make the world better? And if it is, then we know it's something we need to be doing.
Yeah, sorry, I was just reflecting on that in my mind. Do I have those things? How happy am I?
Yeah, it was kind of reminding me a bit of we always talk about this Blue Zone documentary on Netflix.
Yeah,
seen that?
Yeah, it's great though, isn't it? That kind of thought process of how it all works.
But it's that kind of like community sort of connected to what you do and why you do, kind of vibe. So that's the link between like happiness and purpose. Do you? I guess, would you also agree that we've maybe got like a bit of a crisis in kind of purpose and happiness with our businesses in our society?
Yes, because yes. I mean, if you think about the purpose of business in the UK, if you look at company law, it says businesses must work in the interest of the shareholders, which essentially means this business exists to make money for the people that own it. So if you're in a system where you're working in a business and its kind of main focus and purpose is to make money, whereas as humans, our main purpose and focus is to have great relationships and to feel like we're making the world a better place and to be surrounded by love, they're two different things. So the difficulty in business is people seem to think that we need to make decisions. We need to focus so much on the money, and the moral compass can kind of be on the side, whereas actually they can coexist. And I think one of the reasons I started Better Not Stop and the Better Business Network was I was like, you can create organizations and companies that can make money and do good at the same time. It doesn't have to be a charity or a social enterprise or, a CIC. We need to show that business can be done in a way that is commercially viable, but also creating something good in the world. So that for me was almost like the challenge that I wanted to take on when starting a business, because I think a lot of business owners, there is so much pressure to make money, to pay for everything, that sometimes it can feel like you might have to compromise your values to do that. So being surrounded by a community who are also facing those struggles, but the fact that everyone in that community is considering and conscious of that question means that there may be instances where they have to focus more on a commercial decision in the business that might not be as, not be exactly what they would like to do from a sustainability point of view. It's a conscious thought that they're going through whenever they're making decisions.
I think the thing that I've kind of noticed, because we built a small business and became like a purpose-driven business, and I think the thing that I noticed, and the thing that I noticed dealing with other small business people, is there are a lot of people out there that kind of start a business often by accident, or they kind of thrust into this situation, and they don't necessarily start with the purpose or the why, but then they sort of feel like they're lacking something and they try and find it. And I think often this idea of like how having a positive impact or having a purpose, it can feel a bit too abstract for businesses. Like let's say you're a mechanic and you ended up setting up a business to fix cars. And then I feel like often people seem to get confused. It's like, well, how do I turn being a mechanic into purpose, into having an impact? What kind of advice would you have for anyone that's struggling with that?
Oh, good question. I think inherently we're all usually quite nice people trying to do good things. So often when people are starting a business, it's because they want to help in some way by creating a product or a service that is going to help with somebody else's problem. So I think for me, and it's funny you use the mechanic like a trade as an example, because we actually use it in the network when we're talking about the importance of community when it comes to business. But I'm going to tell you this story. I don't know if it's relevant, so you can tell me if it's not afterwards. But one of the things we have in the network is obviously an obvious question people ask when they are looking to join is what types of businesses are in the network, to see if there's relevant businesses that they can work with, etc. And my answer is always, right, just imagine you're at a barbecue with your family, you've been invited along with your partner or whatever, and someone brings along their new partner and they're an electrician and they get really drunk, ruin the barbecue, everyone hates them, it's a nightmare. You go home feeling deflated, like you've been looking forward to that day for ages, and that person was just an idiot. And then the next day you go to work, meet your best mate for lunch, and your best mate's like, I've just bought a house, it needs all the electrics redoing, it's going to cost a fortune, but we put some money aside for it, could you recommend anybody? You would not be recommending the electrician from the day before. And that's the importance of community and liking people and having aligned values with people in business. It's not joining a community because the person you want to meet all the other marketeers there or all the other people that are in consumer goods. It's about meeting a bunch of people whose values align with you, so that you can support each other in more than the way of sending each other business, more in helping each other identify your purpose and your why. I mean, if you're a mechanic, you're helping people, it's community impact, it's social value. There's lots that you're probably doing in lots that people are often doing in a role, but they perhaps haven't thought about it in that way. So with the network, we provide quite a lot of tools and resources around. There's probably a lot you're already doing that is purpose driven and is your why. You haven't connected the dots because you're almost like too in the zone of like making this business work. But actually being around other people and speaking to them, you'll probably recognize the purpose and the why is already there. You just need to kind of pull the thread and you'll find it. Does that answer it or no?
No, definitely. It's actually, I never quite thought about it like that. But yeah, it's interesting because I think you always think of your supplier as the company where you buy that product from that you need, your customer as the company that you do that service for, and they pay you and it's transactional. But I never thought of it in terms of like, it's about we're all interconnected and we're supporting each other.
Yeah.
I suppose when you put that filter through it, you actually can generate a bit of purpose then, because you're like, well, I need you and you need me and we're helping each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you've touched on it in quite a few ways there, but can you just give us an overview of everything that the Better Business Network kind of covers, what it provides for people, the benefits or businesses?
Yeah, definitely. So we started 3 or 4 years ago because I felt the need as a business owner with my agency that I wanted to work with. And I also wanted to surround myself with people that I liked in business, because I thought if I'm going to go through the stress of trying to create a company, you at least want to work with people that you like. So I had gone to a few networking events, and because the purpose of my business is to try and make the world a better place, I went to some events and was almost labelled as a hippie or, a tree hugger or irrelevant to other people, because the first question I was being asked was, what do you do? Or being handed a business card. And it's, like the electrician story, that just doesn't, for me, that doesn't work, because that's not how I make friends or decide who I want to spend my time with on a social level. So it's definitely not how I do business. So it was to I wanted to just find a community that behaved in that way, and it just didn't exist. It certainly didn't exist in Manchester, which is where I'm based. So I just put a post on LinkedIn and said, this is how I feel about business, who also feels like this. And then people started to join, and we created a small website, and it's grown since then. But originally it started more as a way to connect people who had aligned values in how they run their companies or wanted to create their companies. So everything from freelancers to people who have businesses, large businesses with hundreds of employees, are in the network. Now it's got to we've grown and we've kind of moved around a bit. We're conscious we've probably got like 3 core pillars as an organization. The first one is community. So it's about connecting our members with each other so that they have a sense of community and a support network around them. We do that through an app that we have that everybody's got access to, like a community app. We've got 8 cities in the UK that have monthly regional events, and we do a conference once a year in Manchester, and we're just started to do it once a year in Brighton. So we bring people together because it's the human connection part of it that is really important in business. The other part of it is training and development. So often people haven't started their purpose-driven journey or their sustainability journey or their climate action journey, whichever kind of hat you're looking for at the moment, because they just don't know where to be signposted to. So we provide courses, workshops, events, tons of tools and resources in our online library for members, so they can either join others in learning together, or they can do it on their own. One of those is carbon literacy training, which for a lot of businesses is a barrier in them understanding how they can get involved in climate action. So we offer that for free to our members. And then the third part is collective action. So it's like, how can we work together to make it easier for us to all do good business? So that's when we're talking about getting involved in campaigning, both at government level and at local level, with lots of different, often we'll collaborate with people to do a campaign, or often we'll do campaigns of our own. And that's kind of our 3 pillars. So yeah, community, education, and collective action. And that's all underpinned by the fact that we are the 3rd company in the UK to put nature on our board, which means that every decision we make as a business, we're considering nature. So that comes through in kind of every decision we do, and we share that with our members as well.
Wow. What prompted you to do that, to add nature to your board? Because obviously it's quite uncommon at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah. So when I put on the first Better Business Summit, I was thinking about, if we're thinking about purpose-driven businesses in the UK, who would be my top businesses I would want to come and speak? And for me, it was Patagonia, Faith in Nature, those sorts of large companies that are doing really good stuff that people who aren't involved in sustainability have heard of. And Faith in Nature had just put nature on the board, and they came and they did our opening speech, and we integrated nature a lot into the conference. So we had a nature chair on every panel, so nature was represented in every conversation. We had a day in nature on the last day of the conference, and people really connected with that. So in the second year of the conference, we were having a few conversations with Faith in Nature and about how they put nature on the board. And we thought, do you know what? I think we're gonna try and do it. So we recruited Nature, which is then a lawyer called Graham Hanson, represents nature for us in our company. We put nature on the board last January. So we've had nature as a director for just over a year now. And we're bringing out our first nature report to say how that's gone. And because there's kind of no rules around it, it's like we're making it up as we go along. And there have been challenges definitely in the way. But how we try to do it is, we think, when we're making a financial, operational, or strategic decision, what would nature say? Have we considered nature in the thought process? How have we potentially changed our direction because of that? And do we need to run this past Graham before we do it and get some feedback from him? So those are the ways in which we as a business connect with that. And we send Graham our monthly kind of board directors report, so he knows what's going on in the business. And recently we've realised that the communication hasn't been as great with nature in the first year as we'd like. So now we have weekly Thursday meetings with Graham where he has a more in-depth opportunity to be involved in the day-to-day of the business.
And is there any examples of where you've, like, as a business, you've decided to do something, and then, that's kind of been not vetoed, but, like, nature, Graham,
Yeah.
has kind of said, well, but what about, the impact of this? Like, is it actually changing the way you do business in any way, do you think, or is it more just a symbol of, like, why you do what you do?
So because we're a service-based company, we don't. It's one of those things where we're in a serviced office that we kind of have no control over the electric and everything. Although it's a B Corp company that we're in, so we have, like, a really great office partner. But there was a few things like our travel policy, for example. We basically didn't really have one. I'd often hire. I don't own a car, but I would often hire a car to drive to places. It was easier and cheaper than getting the train. And now we have a travel policy where I actually can't do that. And even if it's more expensive, I'm getting the train. And if I'm hiring a car, it's got to be an electric car. And if we're staying in accommodation in cities, we need to be thinking about where's the most sustainable accommodation we can stay at. Obviously, there's a commercial element to that. We can only do it if it fits within our budgets, but it's something we need to be considering and saying if we haven't made the most sustainable decision there. So he was kind of getting into the intricacies of that, because sometimes I would say, well, it's cheaper to do it this way. And he would be like, well, but you're not aligning with your values when you do it like that. So there was a few things almost that sometimes it was easier for us to go, oh, well, it's just how it is. And Graham will be like, well, how comfortable would you feel explaining that in front of a crowd of 1,000 people? And then you think, yeah, actually, it doesn't quite align with what we are as a business. So that we have changed things along the way like that. And that's just like one example of just a review of our travel policy and being really, really clear to the team about how that works. A review of how we run our breakfast networkings. They have to be accessible venues, the teas and coffees that we use, all that kind of stuff that we always are trying to think about how can we do that. And then also with our members, how can we be communicating to our members how this could be an option for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think they're great examples, because so often, when you're working to a budget in companies, you're having to go with, like, what fits in money wise. And when you've got that extra thing, it's like an extra check, isn't it? It's like an extra. Whereas I'm sure in, like, the bigger companies, things must, I'm guessing anyway, it must be very hard for sustainability professionals to try and get things done when, the operations just kind of take over. Well, we just got to buy a new operations facility or do this or do that. Yeah. And that's the end of it. It must be very frustrating for them. So
so it's asking the question, even if you can't do the most sustainable thing, it's still asking yourself the question. An example, and again, I hadn't connected the dots, but I help businesses become B Corp at Better Not Stop. One of the things in your B Corp process is your supply chain management. And one of the things I always suggest to businesses is, when you're deciding on the suppliers of your business, just ask them, do you pay the real living wage? And if they do, great, then you know. And if they don't, then you have to make the decision whether they're still someone that you want to give money to. If you do, that's fine. But the thing that you've done, though, is to that business, if you ask them the question. Now, if every single time they had a potential business wanting to work with them and that business was saying, are you real living wage? Are you real living wage? They'll probably go, it's probably going to make sense for us to do that. So it's about asking those questions and them and the kind of decision being kind of spread around as well. So even if and so it's those things, like just asking those questions. Like whenever I'm in a hotel, I'm like, do you have oat milk? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's building awareness, isn't it? Because I've noticed that when I noticed talking to our we use lots of transport. We talk to transport companies a lot because we drive cardboard around the country. And to begin with, when I was trying to get information for our carbon footprint, they were just like, what? I don't understand.
Haulage companies are like, what's a carbon?
We just drive your stuff around for you. What? And then recently they're like, yeah, we're actually looking into this now. Yeah, and I'm hoping that's because people are starting to say, I need this information. But I might be hoping that's what it is.
It's really, I never thought about it like that, but we have like we have sat down and had meetings and made decisions and done stuff which sometimes is better for our impact, and we feel like it serves our purpose better, but is not as good for our bottom line. To be honest, like it's not as profitable for us. And sometimes we have those conversations, and we still have to go with that option because we obviously we can't lose money, else we wouldn't have a business anymore. So, but I never thought it. And often when we have to make a decision, often there's like a bit of regret or it can be bad. But I never thought about like in that way, because it's like, well, even if you're still going to use them and they don't pay the living wage, you're now like making them aware, and you're getting them to understand that this is an important thing for your customers.
And I think we're not all perfect as well, right? So I know what you mean. There is a lot of compromise that has to happen in business, but I think sharing the difficulties of those compromise again with other business owners can help you potentially come up with other solutions. So we have that in the network, because I think sometimes people join the network and they're like, oh, I'm not very far on my sustainability journey. I'm like, yeah, but you've joined a network to try and learn more. So you're doing loads already, like you're considering it, you're conscious of it. And I think the fact that you're sitting there making conscious decisions about whether this is going to have more impact or not is really important, because it's better than you just thinking, is it going to make us more money? Like you've got that additional step there that is important, and our additional step is it's the impact bit, and then the extra bit we do is what do we think H would say, which is kind of the same really. But I think the fact that you're asking the question is amazing, so you can't beat yourself up too much if the solution isn't always the solution that you would like to go for.
I can imagine just talking to you that like just simply going to a networking event for this as well, as a business, like can just be inspiring or create ideas or like bring energy to it, because we what we do as a product, as a business at Reuser Box, like a lot of the time we get companies that want to work with us, and it's like the sustainability person in the company. And what I most of the time find is there's often with really big businesses as well, there's like just one person that's been given the sustainability role, and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I've got no money. I've been told I've got to make us more sustainable, and I've not been told how or what to do or when to do it. And often I find these people are just kind of like disheartened and overwhelmed because they don't know what to do. And what we do doesn't really have a cost. So I think that's why we get a lot of interaction with them. But most impact, initiatives do have a cost. And I think businesses often, they don't want to allocate a budget to it. So I can see just going to, and like for anyone listening, like just going to joining your network and being at an event, I could see how that could just bring energy and support to that person.
And I hate those traditional business events where you just swap business cards.
And everyone's wearing a suit.
I could never go to them.
They're just awful, aren't they? And I think, I had it at the summit this year because we had quite a lot of like first timers, I guess. And I just said, I'd just like to say in the opening speech, I was like, I am banning you asking somebody what do you do. I'm just banning it. Like, you're just not allowed to do that, because that's not what this is about. It's like, it's about creating those connections with each other and creating that support network.
Because that is what happens, isn't it? You go around, you say, what do you do? I do this, and then you go away and you're just like, that's all that's happened.
And you try and invent like something interesting, and you can't. And it's like, what do you do? I'm a plasterer. And it's like, okay.
And it's also a bit awkward, isn't it? Because you're like, you're feeling like you're having to sell yourself to that person. So you kind of want to share what you do, but then you also don't want to appear like you're bragging, and you also don't want to be like answering. Well, I always answer with everything with like a 10-minute long story. So you're buggered if you ask me, because I'll be like, oh, funny answer. But it's awkward because it makes you feel like, oh, I need to sell to you. But the problem with that is you don't know what they do. Often if you ask the question first, you don't know what they do. You almost don't know whether it's relevant to them or like where to tell them. So, I always say it's just easier to open with something like, what brought you here today, or where did you come from? Like something that's just a bit easier to like bring yourself into that conversation with a new person, because everyone does feel awkward about that. I don't know anyone that enjoys answering that question, because it just is an awkward question to answer, I think. And I haven't met anyone in the 20 years that I've been, you know, having like working in business that has enjoyed answering that question. So we need to stop asking it to each other. Stop it.
Yeah, so what impact do you think the Better Business Network has had so far? I read on your website that your mission is to empower purpose-driven business owners and leaders to make the world a better place. How is this going, basically?
Vague, isn't it? It's just like a really vague, like sort of like, everyone be
but do you have any like success stories that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think probably one of our biggest success stories is our carbon literacy training. So it's something that we really encourage business owners to do when they join, because it's a really easy, like opening educational piece in climate action. So, you know, lots of people, because it's not relevant, it is relevant to everybody, but it's not maybe relevant to their job role, don't know much about climate change, don't know much about carbon emissions or what the difference between scope 1, 2 and 3 is. And now we're having to think about this fourth one that everyone started to talk about, and how that is relevant to what they do. So carbon literacy training, I think, is one of the best things anyone can do to just start that journey. I did it when I started the network, and I tried to find an organization to deliver the training to the network, and it was just super expensive. It's about like £180 per person, and for a small business owner, that, you know, that's a lot of money. So we wrote our own course, and now we deliver that course to our members on a monthly basis, so people can just sign up. It's a great opportunity for them to meet other members of the network, because it's a 8-hour course, lots of breakouts. But the best part of that is at the end of it, they have to commit to an individual action and commit to a collective action in their business. So some of the stories coming out of that is people have made huge changes in their business. We've trained about, overall in our different training and workshop, we've trained over 5,000 people, and that is a ripple effect of them going away then and doing more work, climate action work, or more work where they feel that it's relevant in their role. So it's hard to quantify that. We do know that out of our members, lots of them have moved into certifications that we know is making the world better. So they've become B Corp certified, or they've become members of 1% of the planet. So we can actually start to measure the financial benefits that we're giving back to the planet by doing that. But we're in the process, we last did a survey 2 years ago. So we're in the process of doing a new survey with our members to try and measure that impact. There's some stuff we can, but there's almost other stuff that we hear about. You know, I'll go to a networking and we'll go, oh, did you know, since I saw you, we've switched to electric cars, or, you know, since I last saw you, we've done business with this other business in the network, or we've won this contract because we did this course. So it's hard to quantify the impact, but we hear so many different stories. We know that there's way more out there than we're aware of. We have got some case studies on the website if anyone wants to geek out and like listen to some members talk about their experiences and how the networks help. But it's almost at the moment really difficult for us to measure that, apart from some of the data points that we can bring in.
I think that's just incredible. They're like 5,000 businesses. You can imagine each of those businesses has all of their customers, all of their suppliers. You can really imagine that ripple effect. I think the really important thing as well, like for anyone listening, is I think we've definitely noticed, like, it's really hard to know what to do. You know, so even if you're a business where you're like, okay, we think this is important, how do we have a better social impact? How do we have a better environmental impact? It's really hard to know what to do. And often when you're a small business, you don't even have time to learn what to do.
Yeah.
If I said that right. So I think just having a network like that where you can go and you don't have to invent the wheel, and you don't have to, you know, stay up all night trying to Google, you know,
I have done that before.
what are scope 3 emissions or something, you know. Yeah, I think it sounds really powerful. I think anybody that's listening that's struggling with that should definitely get involved. How would people get involved if there's anyone listening and they're like, this would be really useful? What do they do?
Yeah, they're like, but how much does it cost? So we've actually changed our pricing structure recently because of the barrier to entry for small business owners. So we've created what we've called an ambassador tier, and essentially, if you're on a turnover of under £50,000, or you work in a charity or non-profit sector, because we started to have people in those businesses wanting to join the network, but they were like, we're not limited companies, and we're like, but there's definitely opportunities for you to work with limited companies. So we've created this new ambassador tier, which is pay what you can. So it's essentially you apply to join that tier. James, our community manager, will message you, and you tell him what you can afford for your first year to join, and that is what you will pay. And then after that tier, we measure it based on how many employees you have, and we kind of like guess what's an affordable rate. We have a quarterly, and those tiers go up to 5 tiers. So, you know, between 1 and 20 employees. So we do it by how many people you have in your business. You can pay quarterly or you can pay annually. If you pay annually, it's cheaper. And we have a 100-day money back guarantee. So you can join, and if you really feel you found absolutely no value from what we've offered you, then you get your money back. And one of those things was, and Ellie, you've talked about those traditional networks, is I've joined something on an annual membership for 800 quid or whatever, and then I haven't got value from that membership, and I haven't been able to get my money back. And I think business, like especially membership organizations, if people aren't getting value from that membership money, then you should give that membership money back to them. So we have a 100-day money back guarantee when businesses join. And James, our community, we have like a discovery call every week, so you can really understand what your member benefits are. And then also we have 3 different community managers who, if you tell them what you're looking for or what the challenges are in your business, they will be able to email you back, signposting you to you should do this course, you should have a look at this resource, let me see if I can introduce you to this member, we've got an event in Manchester in 2 weeks, why don't you come to that? So we're actively engaging with our membership as well. So people can literally go to our website to join. If they think money's a barrier to entry, they can go for an ambassador tier, and then they can commit otherwise to either a quarterly payment or an annual payment with us. And then once they've made that, we'll then be able to signpost them to the best places for them to get the value from their membership.
And I suppose as well, like it is like business networking as well. So
yeah,
you know, you might actually get a return, you know, as well as just work out how to, you know, scale your impact.
Yeah, we've had in the last survey, 84% of businesses had done business with each other in the network, which is really high. So.
And I think as well, the thing we've noticed is like, because we have lots of customers that don't work with us because of what, you know, why we do it, but we have lots of companies that do care about, we have like aligned values. And I always think like those relationships, those suppliers, those customers, it's so much more pleasant and often more profitable to kind of deal with them. You know, you really kind of cut through the bullshit.
and get on with it. But also, if you're surrounded by a community of people that get you, they will recommend you. It's like the electrician story again. Like if you meet someone at a networking event or on a course or something, it's not always about it's not siloing ourselves into industry and sectors when it comes to trying to be better businesses. We can learn from each other and we can support each other in that. And the amount of times, I mean, obviously for me and James and Dan and Milo, it's got to the point now that there's too many businesses in the network for us to know all of them. But we will often sit in a meeting and one of us will go, oh, someone came to me asking for this. And then someone will go, oh, yeah, you need to speak to X, Y, and Z. And then we'll be able to reach out and kind of help connect the dots. So it's almost like you've got this other layer of business development support in your business as well. Not just us, but other members of the community will support you in that as well, but in a really authentic, nice way, because they like you, not in a sort of one of those networking groups where it's like you have to do this many recommendations and intros and stuff. It becomes much more organic when you're working with people, like you said, that you like.
I think this is probably one of the most useful pieces of advice or episodes to any of our listeners. I think I think anybody listening that really wants to work out how to scale their impact or how to work with like-minded businesses, I really think they should reach out to you guys.
Yeah, please do.
I mean, what was it? 100-day money back guarantee as well. So you can't, you almost got nothing to lose, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the app's really great now as well, because you can just access everything on your phone. So you've got the community chat channels, you've got all the tools and resources, you've got access to book yourself onto all of the events, access to us as a team. James does this amazing weekly digest email, which he sends on a Tuesday, which just is everything that you need. You're not getting like loads of communications from us. Just once a week, you've got an email and you're like, these events are coming up, this course is going on, this person needs something. Members can put their news in that weekly digest as well. We've got discounts and offers section on the app as well, so you can share that. There's a business directory, so there's just lots of those opportunities, but we've just tried to put it all in one place so it isn't overwhelming for people, but they just know that they've got one resource they can go to when they're looking for support in their business.
Cool. Do you have so what's next for the Better Business Network? Are there any kind of new initiatives or events on the horizon?
Well, it would be silly for me to be on a podcast and not mention there is a new initiative for me. So I am actually leaving the network for 4 months in October. We've got a new community manager coming in, and we'll have a new managing director coming in during that time. We're moving our annual summit, which is usually in January, to May next year. And myself, Dan, who's currently the Southwest Community Manager, and a group of about 6 others are heading over to India and Pakistan, and I will be running the old inland customs line across the country over 100 days. And we're trying to raise £1 million for 1% for the Planet, which is climate action charity which was founded by Patagonia, if you haven't heard of it, and encouraging businesses to join 1% for the Planet, and also people to raise money for 1% for the Planet to go to climate action charity. So that's the big thing that's happening this year, and hopefully we're encouraging our members to be part of that collective action piece as well.
Wow.
That was a mic drop.
Do you know what? I wasn't expecting that.
Anything new on the horizon? Going to raise £1 million.
Off doing it.
For 1% for the Planet. Wow.
Yeah. Good luck.
Amazing.
So, but it's trying to connect that dot of it's hard to do hard things, but that doesn't mean that we can't attempt to try and do them. And I think our tagline at Better Not Stop of the business is, you don't have to do everything, but you have to do something. And we have to be considerate of that as human beings and as business owners, that it is overwhelming what's happening in the world at the moment. And there's lots of stuff that is completely out of our control. There's also lots of stuff that we can be involved in. And once you start to get involved in things and are surrounded by people that have the same values as you, it becomes empowering, and it takes away the anxiety, because you're able to feel that you are actually doing something in a positive way. And I think sometimes people are paralyzed by the overwhelm of how big some of the challenges we have at the moment. And what we're trying to do with the network is to say, we totally get that feeling, but let's try and find ways in which we can create positive action that will make you feel empowered to do more, and people around you. So we're kind of, I'm kind of putting my flag in the ground in October to go, I'm going to do something that is really challenging for me. And I don't know if I'm going to fail or not, but you know what, I'm at least going to have a go. So, it's not like we're all doing this trip with like, we're definitely going to be able to achieve this, but it's like, we're going to have a go, because this feels like something that we can focus on and do to try and do some good.
It's incredible. Are you can people follow that story next year? Is like on social
Yeah,
media
it's
or?
actually, we leave in 241 days. So it's called Project Salt Run because it's the old inland customs line was created. It's actually links quite a lot to sustainability. So the old inland customs line was created by the East India Company in the 19th century to create a salt tax throughout India. Started in the Himalayas, finished in Orissa. And the mad thing about this inland customs line was it was 4,000, over 4,000 kilometers long. And it was about 20 foot high, 16 foot deep, 14,000 British Army officers manning it. Now you would immediately think to yourself, well, that must have been a big fence or a big stone wall, but it wasn't. It was a massive hedge. Like they grew a massive hedge that went across the entire length of India, which is just the most madcap, insane sort of Bond villain, Disney villain thing to do, right?
Hedge.
But a giant hedge, but it existed. And as a result of this hedge, between 6 to 8 million Indians died in one of the biggest famines in India because of the salt tax that the East India Company put in, extracting money and resources from the country. It was one of the most evil things that, has ever occurred in British history, and it is largely forgotten about. And it was created by the East India Company, the first shareholder driven company in the world. As the Better Business Network, we're behind the Better Business Act, which is trying to change that company law to say we should go from shareholder to stakeholder value. And we're running that to try and remind people about, you know what, when we do awful, horrible things and we're extracting and not thinking of others, bad stuff happens. So we need to remember this, and then we need to be thinking about how that's relating to where we are now, which is the climate crisis and the action that we need to take. So it's not just like that. There's a story to that run as well. But if people are interested in that, we also have a podcast called Project Salt Run, where Joelle, who's one of the members of the team, and I count down the weeks to us leaving, telling people the story of why we're going over to India in 240 days.
It's incredible. And that's Project Salt Run, the podcast.
Yes. And, it's just my accent makes it sound like I say salt all the time.
And that's available on Spotify, is it? Or
yeah, it is.
Yes. Yeah.
It's inspirational, really. Like, yeah.
I'm amazed.
Good luck. Yeah. I mean, you're going to smash it.
I can't wait to see what happens. Yeah.
You should go as well, Jack. You like running.
She's running, are you?
I'm running it.
Oh, you're running it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. I thought you meant you were just going on like train or something.
No. Yeah.
How far is it? Sorry.
It'll be about 100 marathons in 100 days.
Oh.
So like one a day? One marathon a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, you better not go, Jack.
So,
I don't think you can.
I get sunburned too easily.
Good excuse. But we are doing some training runs in the UK though.
Nice.
So maybe you can join us for one of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool.
That's incredible. Oh, well, our final question was going to be, where do you see the world in 10 years? But I don't know if we can outdo your last answer. So
I think I remember that question because I remember thinking that's such a difficult question to answer when just stuff feels so insane at the moment. I definitely come from a place of hope, because otherwise, almost what's the point? If we think it's all going to shit, it will all go to shit. I think technology is going to help us, but it's behavior change that is the thing that is going to make a difference. It's hard to think about that when we feel so powerless. That's why things like carbon literacy and the Better Business Network exist, so people feel that you've got communities, other people around you that are trying to make things better. I think in 10 years, we will, as people, become way more community focused. I feel like we've lost a lot of that we used to have. Knowing who your neighbours are, being involved in local community projects, I feel like that will become really important. And I think that will become important regardless of how far climate change happens. We are going to have to be more community focused as humans. So I think that is only ever going to be a positive thing if we allow it to be a positive thing. where do I think we'll be in regard to things like climate change? You know, awful big corporations have always existed. The East India Company was almost like the original Amazon, you know? So, and that fell. So these ones that we have now can fall too. There's businesses with monopolies, governments allowing those businesses to exist, but people have the vote. So we need to empower each other in feeling like that and support each other when we're not feeling like that. So I think it's going to all be about community in 10 years. But I mean, I don't know where we'll be. I don't even know where I'll be. I didn't know I was going to India until like 10 months ago. So, you know, I don't even know what's happening next week. So don't ask me.
Yeah. I hope you're right about the community, because that's what we all need. And that's,
yeah,
it helps so much, doesn't it? With everything that's all the horrible things that are going on right now.
It's funny because I have read, you know, like, obviously I'm not old enough to know, but like I've read about, especially in the UK, like a lot of, you know, like post World War II, you know, there were a lot of really great companies that were much more community led, you know, like Cadbury's back in the day, for example, you know, and we just seem to have lost that. And I definitely feel like people like you and like the B Corp movement, you know, like it's bubbling away, it's coming back, and obviously because people need it. I think people need it.
People need it. We were kind of sold it, weren't we, when we got Facebook and Instagram and everything? Like, here's your communities, and I think we've all just kind of noticed that's not what they are.
No,
you need real life connections with people, you know. So, I think we all need to believe that to be true, and then it will be.
Oh, what a great place to end the episode.
Thank you for that. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. We hope it was truly
Earth your while.
For more information, visit reuserbox.co.uk/earthyourwhile.
And if you'd like to appear on the next series of Earth Your While, please email media@reuserbox.co.uk.